Hello, everyone. We just wanted to do a trigger warning at the top of this episode. We did not expect it to get so intense, but it did. So just so you know, there is going to be some talk of sexual assault and the aftermath of that, as well as genital mutilation. This episode may not be for you, but if it is and you find it difficult, just know that, we appreciate you.
Why so mysterious? Just sit down and hang with us. Why so mysterious?
This is Why So Mysterious, the podcast where we attempt to fill the gap between the bodies we have and the lack of knowledge around them,
We're sharing our experiences and answering our own questions
with some help along the way.
to destigmatize tricky taboo topics.
The triple Ts.
Every time I start the intro, have you ever noticed that I do lobster claws? Both my hands are
I
like,
could
now we
totally see it,
begin.
yes. Let's do this.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to another episode of Why So Mysterious. I'm Raven.
And I'm Sarah.
And today, before we really dig in, we've got a real doozy for you. We have our very first corrections corner.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Whoop, whoop.
a little information that was requested. We're getting little requests now. It's really cool.
Yay.
So my first request,
What?
right off the bat, it's been a long day. My first corrections corner
Yeah.
is totally for myself. Basically, in our last episode, I guess it'll be a while ago, but PMS episode, I went on a little sidebar about the Apostle Paul from
Right.
Jesus Christ Superstar being a porn star. That was incorrect. It is the
Oh.
Apostle Peter.
Oh.
The actor's name is Paul Thomas. So you can see how I get confused.
I see.
My second corrections corner is also purely for myself, just to make sure no one thinks that I'm stupid, is I said beware of Nietzsche and Derrida. I don't actually know who Derrida is. I meant Heidegger. So just so
Sure.
everyone knows, I just had to get that off my
Don't know
chest.
who either of those
I know you
people
don't know
are.
who any of these people are, but if
but-
anybody out there
Don't
needs
come
the,
at you.
needs the PSA though
Yes.
of like, look out.
Dump those boyfriends. I think that was your
Potentially.
PSA. Is
That was the
dump
PSA.
those, or just partners.
I mean, they might be okay. Like,
No.
I don't want to totally generalize
No, we're
them, but,
totally Xing all those people. No, I'm just kidding.
like, okay. Okay.
We're
All-
putting it's a hard fist on the table.
All I wanted everyone to know was if you look at the bookshelf and you see Nietzsche, Freud, and Heidegger, and maybe a little bit of Derrida, I don't know, but I do know about Heidegger,
Just run
just buyer beware.
or run.
Okay.
I have no idea. I'm like, whatever.
Okay, you guys. Anyway.
Oh.
Okay. And then I wanted to give you a little update because I read part of a book that we
Ooh.
talked about in our laxatives episode.
Oh yeah.
I mentioned this book called Gulp by Mary Roach.
Oh yeah.
And in that book that I brought up in the episode was the old-timey relieving of constipation.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
The cat.
The kitten. Leave the kitten on your
right,
bare belly for 2 to 3 days.
Which just I still can't fathom who wrote that, in the sense of like, who gets a cat to stay still for 3 days.
Okay, well, here's something interesting that I did learn about this guy when I read Gulp. So he also was apparently a very like quote unquote gentle doctor. He just had like a lot of words for people. And in the book, they gave one example of this guy who was like seriously suffering constipation. And he went, all right, I'm in London. I can't help you, but there's an expert up in Edinburgh. You got to take the train up there. He'll help you out. So this guy goes up there. It takes him like 2 weeks or however long it took by train back then. That
I
doctor,
don't think it would take 2 weeks.
I don't know. It's the 1600s. It probably doesn't take 2
Yeah.
weeks. In my mind, it's a long ass
I
journey.
feel like 2 weeks is excessively long.
Probably. But the point is, he gets there and there is no doctor. And then he gets back and he's like, you made up, like, did you make up this doctor? That doctor didn't exist. And the doctor was just like, well, do you feel better? And he was like, actually, yeah. So it was like the trip was
moving.
relaxing
Movement.
enough that it
Oh.
would release his
Relieved.
bowels.
Oh wow.
So this is the same guy. And then I also learned that this same doctor who prescribed the kittens and the weird train excursion is Thomas Sydenham, who in our
one was
PMS
that?
episode, he was the guy to first kind of put forth the idea that PMS was more of a mental issue than a physical issue.
So I mean, this guy,
Click,
this
clack
guy,
together.
I don't think anybody should be listening to this guy.
Super weird. Now that
Yeah.
I've read all these weird little things,
Yeah.
I'm like, was he like mercury poisoning or something? Like he was
Maybe.
probably a little nuts.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Let's just conclude with that. He was just,
just a little out
a little
there.
out there.
Yeah. So I
Shouldn't
just-
have listened to him.
No, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, sometimes all you need to do is go on vacation.
Yeah, and then you'll poop more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Relax.
Sounds great.
Okay, then the other thing is I watched Hysteria. Nobody needs to see that movie.
Oh, yeah. No, that one sounded literally terrible.
It was very weird.
Please tell the audience. What
Okay,
that
so
was. Oh, just-
Hysteria, when we were talking
awful.
about PMS, and I mentioned that, obviously talked about Hysteria, and then they made this romantic comedy. I can't remember. I feel like it came out in like the year 2000 or something like that. It had a
Right.
very made for television vibe. So I don't know, and it was very British. There were a couple American actors in it, like Maggie Gyllenhaal was in it,
Right.
and it literally was like a guy who's just like super into modern medicine, but he keeps getting fired because all these doctors in the 1800s, like they're not down with his modern science. They're like, get out of here, you young, like, whippersnapper, like we don't like you here, like we don't like to change bandages. And he's like, oh, like I can't handle this. And so then he
gross.
goes to work for a doctor who treats hysteria,
Yeah.
which literally is just bringing women to climax all day. So it takes him about an hour, and the
Why,
first
this makes me like want to gag.
Okay, well, the first scene in the movie where he does a demonstration for his new like colleague, the woman is quite elderly, and she's like lost her husband, and she's sad, and like he starts, and then I don't know, within like it takes I guess an hour, but they clip it together so it seems like less time. She's like bucking and screaming like, steady on, old boy, like, so then she like kicks him in the head at one point, and like it's really
my
weird. It's
God.
very strange, but like
It sounds
basically
literally so disturbing.
it is very disturbing. There's a lot of weird
It actually
messages,
makes me feel like ill.
but also just generally it wasn't a good movie. So
No, it sounds like a terrible.
it wasn't.
movie.
Rupert Everett was in it, and he was
I don't
the
know who that
friend.
is.
He was in like my best friend's wedding and stuff. He's a gay icon, very British, but he is just this rich guy who's like obsessed with electricity, and he ends up being the person to help them develop the vibrator. But he's just like
Oh.
always in the background with like a big mustache, just like, what's happening over here? And it's like the best part of the movie. Anyway, so
Anyways,
I'd just like to tell everyone that I've spared you.
don't go do it.
Don't watch this
don't do
movie. It
that. Yeah.
sucks.
I mean, I could have guessed.
Yeah, I just kind of had to satisfy my curiosity.
100%.
Oh, and also a very quick aside, I'm quite contented with the potential fact that Elvis did die of constipation after reading
shit.
that book. So it's
Seriously?
a good book. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
You said he had like some massive amount of meat in him, didn't you?
Yeah, I said he had like a lot of meat in his intestine, but I don't know. We are going to get into some like gory details in this episode. So
Yeah,
just like
definitely.
don't eat during this episode.
No, you probably won't want to do that.
Okay, so they described the woman Mary Roach who wrote this book
Right.
actually went to see Elvis's personal physician.
Oh,
Body? No, he is long gone. I mean, he might have been pretty like pickled, but
when did Elvis die?
like 76, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, and then the book was written in like the mid 2000s, so he could have passed
Right.
along by now. But so he was at Elvis's autopsy, and they described cutting into his lower intestine, which was incredibly difficult to do because it was completely blocked by a thick clay-like substance.
Oh, why?
I don't know. He
Like,
had some
just, like,
kind of a
in his
disorder that
abdomen?
he had a disorder. I forget what it's called, but basically it makes it so that your colon stretches and contracts, of course, to
Yeah.
move matter
everything
along. Yeah. But there's a disorder where you lose the elasticity in your colon, so it doesn't anymore have the ability to move poop along the track.
What?
So it gets stuck, and then more keeps compacting it.
Ooh.
And it can make you very bloated. And also, as we know, at the end of
yeah.
his life, he was quite heavy in
Yeah.
the stomach region.
Mm.
So it's likely he had that.
Just sounds really
Also, it's very common to die of a heart attack while trying to poop.
painful.
Like way more common than I thought. So they talk about that in the book too. It's just basically
What?
cardiac arrest from pushing.
Whoa.
Yeah, it happens a
All
lot.
right, let's all get on our fiber game and just smooth the move. Let's not
Don't
die of
push
heart attack.
too
Don't
hard.
push too hard. If it's too hard, I mean, you gotta either the timing's off or you gotta get some fiber in there. Go back and listen to our laxative episode.
Yes.
Don't go and take laxatives. Listen to the episode first and then consider your options.
Take a laxative, sit in the toilet, play the episode at the same time. No, I'm kidding. So those are
Yeah.
all my updates and
Wow.
corrections.
And then we had a request.
yeah.
And this is more,
This came from our PFAS episodes. This was a while ago, but we
Right.
kept forgetting.
we kept forgetting. Yeah. And so this is more specific to period underwear as a product and how to clean them. Obviously, we are the pros at period underwear, so we get this question a lot. And so basically what we always recommend to our customers and clients is to use a dish soap because, and I usually typically I'll say Dawn because it actually does just work really well, but dish soaps have enzymes that break down biological
Bodily fluids.
I mean, it really is like meant to break down grease and like protein from the foods that you eat and those kind of things, which is just like not far off from the proteins in your blood and stuff like that. So
And this is for like the pre-rinse before you put it in the wash.
Yeah. So just like recommend rinsing your underwear with dish soap like Dawn, and then
I would just
rinse
do like
them.
a little squirt in the crotch and then like a
you don't need much at all.
no, you don't, and then like some get some decent agitation going.
Definitely. I do a lot of wringing,
Yeah,
and then
they can take it.
Yeah, they can definitely take it. Let the water run clear, and then hang them up and then put them in the wash.
But yeah, it is the enzyme.
The
soap.
enzyme is critical.
Yes.
If you're just putting like hand soap, it just ain't. It's not going to break down the blood in the same way.
No.
So that's our little tidbit
That's
for
soap
today.
corner.
That's soap corner.
All right. So did we get into this?
Shall we get into our episode? Have we
today?
introduced the episode?
No.
No.
Would you like to introduce the
Sure.
episode today?
No, you're always better at it.
All right. Today we are talking about a procedure, a phenomenon, something that truly escapes me as to why it's happening so much until, recently, I guess, because there are some good reasons.
Yeah.
Labiaplasty.
Yes.
So
Labiaplasty.
Sarah is going to tell me about
gonna
modern day
give
labiaplasty. And I will just say,
Well, I don't know anything about non-modern day labiaplasty.
oh, I'm
Do you?
going to tell you.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't do any of I didn't even know there was.
Well, I stopped going to.
Not
Oh, I see you
modern day.
have a diagram,
Diagram.
in your notes
Just figured we'd have it.
in case we need it.
In case we need it.
I stopped. I was Googling this when we were talking about potentially doing this episode, and then I stopped because I, like you, started going down rabbit holes, and I was like, no, I want Sada to tell me about this.
Well, I hope I covered all.
I am
There's
very-
actually way more than I expected there to be.
Yeah.
So I started off by watching a labiaplasty surgery.
You watched the surgery?
I watched the surgery.
Like on YouTube?
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
not.
it makes my crotch hurt.
I mean, like, I'm a millennial that grew up watching Dr. 90210. So for me, I'm like, it's like in our household, we watched a lot of Dr. 90210. So I'm like pretty used to weird surgery shows. And this YouTube episode was kind of like that. Like,
Was it a
just like-
Dr. 90210?
They were from California, yeah, but it wasn't Dr. 90210. But basically, what a labiaplasty is, so I guess let's first, because some people might not even know what a labia
What is the labia?
So let's just go into like a brief anatomy lesson.
Yeah, because actually a lot of people don't really know that your vagina actually like isn't your whole.
It's in your vagina
Package?
isn't actually on the outside. So if
No.
you're saying vagina, you're just talking about your internal canal,
Yeah.
pretty much. So what you have on the outside, we call it the vulva. That encompasses what we see on the outside is the vulva.
So that's like the lips, for
The
lack
lips.
of a better term.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then what you have is what I would consider the outer lips is the labia majora. It's actually really easy to remember this. Labia majora is the outside.
Yeah.
And then labia minora is on the inside. And so it, by the term, makes you think one is bigger, one is smaller.
Right.
But I don't know if we've said it on this podcast, but we've said it so many times, is that like vaginas are all different. I just said vaginas are all different. Vulvas are all different. And they come in literally all shapes and sizes.
I wonder if the reason that we don't really think about that so much when it comes to like, this set of genitalia is like, it's not like we see a lot of, wieners, but I feel like we're more comfortable with the fact that those come in all shapes and sizes. And I think that part of the reason potentially that people are so weirded out when they realize that theirs is like quote unquote different than what maybe they see in porn or even in the diagram shown in a health class is because we don't really ever get like representations of what actual vulvas look like.
No,
anywhere.
And we don't. And I think because like kind of like that like TV culture is like we kind of make fun of typical cisgendered males comparing penis sizes or talking about penis sizes, like how big was it, whatever. Even like stereotypical cisgender women in media or like in TV are like, oh, like
I want to know.
Yeah, like I want to know how big it was. We're never like talking to our friends like, how large is your menorah? Like, do you have a large menorah? Do you have a large majora? Like, what's going on down there?
That's true.
I'm like, and I've seen a lot of my friends' vaginas. I mean, I keep calling it vaginas now. I feel like I'm very much use the term vulva.
It's okay. You're
now
not
I feel
alone.
like I'm tripping myself up.
Weird, like quick aside, watched a mini documentary on YouTube about a woman who was kind of coming to terms with having a different vagina, and she's a documentary filmmaker, so she turned it into a short film. She interviewed several surgeons, none of whom felt comfortable saying the word vulva or labia.
Really?
They kept asking if they could call it different names, and she played those little clips in there, and it was just like the surgeons can't even say it.
I know.
So you can cut yourself a little bit of slack there.
That's true. But where I grew up, we go swimming, and we go swimming a lot. So I'm from Iceland, and you have to strip down naked in the showers before you go swimming. So I've seen like every type of vulva there is out there.
When we were in Iceland, before we left, you were like, oh, we're going to go to the pool. And just so you know, you have to get naked when you take a shower. And I was like, okay, fine. Because like I grew up
like, you actually
very
have to
pro
get
naked. Yeah, you were very much like, no, you need to understand. You have to be naked. And I was like, okay.
There's no like putting your bikini on and then taking a shower. There's an attendant in the showers. Their only job is to monitor people showering.
What a weird
and then they
job.
come out and yell at you if you aren't naked. It can be 10 seconds that you're naked, but as long as you go in naked and then you put your bathing suit on, it's okay. But
All right.
so that's how I grew up. Also, I feel like growing up in Iceland, you just like get undressed around your friends like all the time. Not all the time. It makes it sound weird.
It's normalized.
It's normalized.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is like I'm really like accustomed to, or I've known for a long time that vulvas look so different. Like there's so many different variations. But basically what I would say is a common occurrence is that the labia minora, so the inner folds, grow a little bit larger than the outer lips.
Yeah.
And then therefore protrude from the lips, basically.
Yeah, they come out.
They come out.
They're showing.
They're showing.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And what I found, so the labiaplasty, which is basically just the surgery of the labia.
Mhm.
It is the labia minora that is
Yes.
getting this surgery on. And what it is typically, so first I'll go into what the surgery is,
Okay.
and then we'll go into why you would get the surgery.
Got it.
So I watched the surgery. It's actually not that bad.
Sure, I'll take your word for it.
Basically, it's done like you're still awake while it's done. It's not a go under kind of surgery.
The idea that you would be awake,
You are
during
fully
that,
awake. You are
that can't be every case scenario,
pretty much all of them.
huh?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It is. You get like lidocaine. Whatever
Okay,
that
so
is.
you're like a little loopy, or
No,
you're just
like you just get
numbed?
injected with lidocaine
my
in
fucking
the
God.
area. I watched that whole part. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So then imagine in this scenario, you'd really only get this surgery if your labia minora is larger
Yes.
than your labia majora.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do, and really what you see is, so there's the clitoris at the top.
Yep.
There is,
It's at the top, everybody.
it's at the top. There's the clitoral hood above that.
Yes.
Then the urethra.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically what you'll have is like the lower part of the labia minora
Right.
can grow to be larger. Like you hopefully would not get a labiaplasty that would touch, like they wouldn't cut into
It
the
shouldn't
top part.
shouldn't come anywhere
of-
near the
no,
top.
it should basically be so like where the vaginal opening is.
Okay.
Which is below your urethra and your clitoris.
Yeah.
That's where they might cut some of the minora off.
Okay.
It is 100%, from what I read, not a good surgery if they go above
No.
or go up, basically.
Right.
So I looked into what a labia minora does. It basically just, because it's all the way along your vulva,
Yeah.
basically, it is just protecting your clitoris, protecting your urethra,
Okay.
and protecting your vaginal opening. So just making sure we don't have like an open hole, basically, that has no protection. It's like eyelashes for your
Crotch.
vaginal opening. Or eyelids. I guess it's more like
It's more like
eyelids.
eyelid. Yeah. That's it's there for a
There
reason.
For a reason. And then they often say like it could be genetics, it could be hormones, it could be estrogen. Like you have high levels of estrogen, apparently that does often cause it to grow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it's not a bad thing. Anyways, so the way that the surgery is done
Mm-hmm.
is imagine a pie, like a pie chart.
Okay.
Then imagine a quarter of the pie taken out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take the two ends, like the
Okay.
corner,
Yeah.
and then you just seam it back together.
Right. Okay.
So then your curve just gets smaller,
Got it.
basically.
So yeah, the
Okay.
idea basically is that like if your labia minora is, has enough like bonus tissue
Yes.
to warrant surgery for some
Mhm.
reason, then there is enough room, more than enough room to bring those two ends together and still have room, basically.
And the way that the surgeon that I was watching,
Mm-hmm.
so in this case, it's like, how do I describe this visually so people who are just listening? Okay, so basically, it's like imagine that there are. I'm like, okay, hold on, let me think for a second of what the best visual would
Okay.
be for this. Okay, so when you're doing so you've got the pie,
Mm-hmm.
and you know where you're gonna cut that quarter out.
Yeah.
Basically, what they do is they take the end where they're gonna start,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually like stretch it because your labia minora is quite stretchy.
Yeah.
And basically, what they do is they pull it down so that you have full range of motion, like full
Okay.
range of movement.
Right.
You're not like suddenly going to be like so tight that you can't move or you're going to be uncomfortable.
Right. Okay.
So they pull it down and then they take the bottom and they pull it all the way up so that they can see that once those two ends are closed, that you still have that full range of motion.
Okay.
So the actual surgery itself is quite simple in theory.
It fucking
There's-
should be if you're awake.
Yeah, it definitely is. There's almost no blood. Like it doesn't bleed because of they put like there's something in the lidocaine that's like tightens your blood vessels
Okay.
right where it's happening.
Oh.
I looked into it. The labia itself doesn't have a whole lot of. I mean, obviously it has nerves. It's not like the clitoris, which has like
It's not
way
overly
more
sensitive.
heightened
Yeah.
nerves. It's not really meant for that kind of thing. Like it's not meant for a pleasure sensation
There
area.
is like pleasure sensation nerves in your labia
in
minora,
your labia
though.
minora, but
Yeah.
that part down at the bottom where
Not so much.
it's not so much.
Okay.
All of this being said, I'm not saying that I think people should get.
Of course.
I'm just describing that the surgery itself
Yeah.
is not super invasive. Of course, it's invasive because it's literally cutting a piece of you off and
Yeah.
then surging or like putting you back together. You know what I mean? Like it's not like
Yeah. It's
it's
not like
brain
a
surgery.
no.
The surgery itself is not super complicated. There's not a whole lot of risk involved,
Mm-hmm.
but what I have issue with is the why.
Yeah.
The how is like
Sure.
I don't think there's anything really wrong with the fact that there is this surgery out there. There are reasons why people might want to get this surgery, but it's the why that I think I have the most issue with, because when you go and look up labiaplasty,
Mm-hmm.
literally it'll like clinics are doing targeted ads
Yeah.
for labiaplasty.
Mm-hmm.
And so the top information on, unless you're going to go on like WebMD, is just what the clinics are saying
That's true. It's almost
is
all
happening.
private clinics
Private
in your area.
clinics. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of them talk about boosted sensation, added libido.
They do?
Oh, yeah. Like
Added
a lot.
libido?
Yeah, exactly. Like increased libido.
I mean, maybe if they're thinking you're going to be more, like pussy power at the end of this whole thing, but like
They might,
Labiaplasty-
they're not talking about it like you're gonna have confidence and have increased libido.
Well, that's what
they're
everyone
just saying.
should know too, is like, no surgery is going to fix your confidence if that's the
No.
problem.
No. Well, I think I would actually disagree, but not in the sense that I don't think it's in a healthy way fixing your confidence.
Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I would say majority of the people getting this surgery are getting it for cosmetic reasons
Right.
and aesthetic reasons. It does give them a sense of confidence,
All right.
but so like I can't say that, it doesn't, but where does the insecurity come from
Yeah.
is more so where the issue is.
What's
It's like,
the root?
why are we insecure about our labia minora sticking out further than our majora?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the reasons why will be wanting to wear tighter yoga pants.
Is that a legit reason, or is
Like,
that a
actually,
reason?
it'll be like I've seen it on multiple clinics.
Okay.
I can't remember how they worded it, but basically like fitting better in clothes. There will be, like the last one will be like discomfort. And I'm like, there are cases for sure.
Yeah.
If you have an enlarged minora and you go horseback riding, you're really into Soul Cycle or whatever, like you are going to feel it more likely.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, if it's something that really bothers you, it could be an option, but it's still a really invasive thing. You can also wear a chamois when
What's
you go.
a chamois?
a chamois is actually what you're supposed to be wearing when you're riding a bicycle or you're on like at Soul Cycle.
Is that like a butt pad?
It's a butt pad.
Oh.
It's like, why do you think that athletes that
They
this
do wear them.
professionally,
Yeah.
they wear them?
Yeah.
And so when you go, and it's so funny because in my past work experience, I made
Right. Yeah.
cycling, or actually it was specifically for spin
Yeah.
shorts, and they have a pretty thick pad in them because you're literally putting like 45 minutes of like pressing and bouncing.
Those seats are not
And
comfortable.
they're not comfortable. Even the padded seats are still not comfortable. And you're not supposed to feel like discomfort
Yeah.
from that kind of activity. But it was wild when we would go and try to sell our shorts to the spin studios. Unless they
Oh.
were at like athletes that opened a spin studio. So like cyclists that
Okay.
opened a spin studio. People who were just wearing like Lululemons and a thong were like, no, absolutely not. You don't need a pad. And I'm like,
Was it just like they
You
were like
do.
afraid of what the bulk would look like?
Yeah.
Kind of.
basically. But I'm like,
Ugh.
you don't even see it. The way we designed it, you don't even see it.
But also like you're sitting down during class. Like it's
Yeah.
not.
Exactly.
It's not like
and
you're
I
wearing
took spin
Depends.
for a long time, and I still love it. Every single time I wore my chamois shorts, I would never go to class without chamois shorts. I like you're crazy.
Gotta have my chamois shorts.
Chamois shorts, but it literally makes the biggest difference.
Yeah.
So, and same probably goes for horseback riding. I don't know. I would question: is there what do males with testicles do horseback riding?
Well, that's the
Do
thing
they
that's
wear
interesting.
like a what are those jock strap things?
A jock strap, or like, I mean, a cup is
Like a
more for
cup?
like high impact sports, but that kind
Ah.
of is interesting too, because like there's, I mean, I think that there are surgeries, but it's not
Mhm.
a common surgery for like a guy rides a lot of, he does a lot of cycling, he does a lot of
Yeah.
horseback riding. He's not going to get like a
The guy's
cock
cycling-
reduction.
No,
Like-
guys cycling wear chamois shorts. So I'm like, guys have testicles, or like lots of
Everything's on the
males have
outside.
testicles. Yeah, and so there are definitely ways to be more comfortable, and then that kind of brings me back to it being more of a psychological
Yeah.
reason why you're getting it done.
Mhm.
Not being exposed to seeing what other labia minora and majoras look like, seeing what porn stars look like, would definitely cause you to have a skewed view or whatever.
Yeah, or fear of like,
Fear of
am I
being
not like everyone
different.
else?
Yeah.
Well, here's another crazy thing. Do you remember when Too Hot to Handle came out? And I've brought this scene up
Yeah.
so many freaking times.
Oh, yeah.
They separate the girls and the boys go off and they draw their feelings on a piece of paper, and then at the end they run at them with a
With a
spear.
spear. Yeah, I
And
remember
the
that.
girls go put a mirror on the ground, get in
Yeah.
their own personal little change rooms, and
Yeah.
they all have to look at their yonis, which is
Yonis,
what the teacher's
yeah.
calling it. I personally dislike that term, but I know
Mhm.
some people use it. And a bunch of them had never looked at
I
their own
know.
vaginas and vulvas, the whole thing, because you're looking at it through a mirror, so you could get a good look. But the fact, and also because that show was like supposed to be, everyone on there was like highly sexually active, and like,
Yes.
just like sex was
Yeah.
like name of the game. And a lot of those people had not ever looked at their own genitalia.
know.
Blows my mind.
I know. And if we can stress anything to anyone out there is look at your vagina or vulva, and then also touch it. Touch your own. Don't touch someone else's. Touch your own, because I remember being in college, and like, I mean, like we've talked about on the show, like I masturbated at a young age.
Yeah.
So like, or not young, like as a teenager. And so I was all up in there feeling things. I had friends when I was in my early 20s that had never touched themselves. Never.
What?
I am
How is that
not
even
even joking. They had
possible?
put a tampon in, but that's it.
Wow.
Never masturbated at all. Had never looked at their vulvas. And then they were talking about wanting, and this particular person really wanted to lose their virginity. And this was a close friend of mine. I was like, I cannot let you lose your virginity until you at least put one finger up there and check it for yourself. Like, do not let someone else do that for you.
That's the very good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just check. Just a finger.
Well, you should know. I mean, when you're like young and you don't know what anything is, that's kind of like part of the thing too, because eventually, like when you are potentially having sex with someone, you can, alert them to certain areas that are better for attention than others, because they've also potentially never peaked the goods before.
Yeah, and
they
it's
don't
also
know.
okay to tell your partner, hey, like move a little to the right or to the left and move up. And like, because it's like unless, maybe they have that same genitalia, maybe they don't. But even if they do have the same genitalia, each person's different. So they feel things differently. And like just that communication is really fucking helpful.
It makes me wonder about those Too Hot to Handle girls. If it's like you're having all this sex, have you ever told anyone like what you,
Are you actually
like?
being
Do you even know?
teased? Yeah, exactly. Do you even know?
Anyways,
we've totally gone off on a tangent. But yeah, what I kind of was coming back to is like, why are people getting, and the statistics are kind of wild.
Well, it's a surgery that's getting more and more popular.
It's growing by like 14% every year.
And like kids are also getting this surgery too.
And I was like, one of the surgeons I was listening to was like promoting young, like 15, 17-year-olds getting it to boost their confidence. And I was like, this to me is just like the saddest thing ever. You haven't even gone through exploring yourself. Like your body's going to change so much.
Oh yeah, you're not even really
You're not
done
even
puberty.
really there. Like you just let your body at least get to the point where it needs to be, and then and then make an adult decision on what you want to do with your body.
The other thing too is just like, you have talked about wanting to get a breast reduction someday, but you want to wait until after you have kids and are done breastfeeding.
Exactly.
I know other people are the same way. If you are interested in having children at all, it seems like smart to me, if you're interested also in labiaplasty, that you should probably wait until that chapter of your life is complete.
Because things can totally change.
Absolutely.
You have no idea what childbirth is going to be like if you do want to go that route.
Yeah.
But yeah, the statistics are growing, and I think it's, a mix.
The internet.
Actually, surprisingly, Soul Cycle, like those spin classes actually there's been like a correlation between an increase in spin and an increase in labiaplasties, which again, cannot stress chamois enough. Like it is. Having a smaller menorah is not going to make that big of a difference. It's still going to fucking hurt when you go to spin class.
Get a chamois.
Get a chamois. But here are the things that I kind of like found when I was doing the research. Those are my things about the labiaplasty itself. We can talk more about it, but there are many other surgeries that you can get, including the I don't know if it's pronounced like this, but vaginoplasty.
What is that?
That one is, and this one I've heard of, but that one is tightening the vaginal wall.
Oh, is that when they talk about like vaginal rejuvenation? Is that kind of that procedure? Okay.
Yeah. And so actually, you know what? Sorry, pause. I'm not going to jump on this quite yet.
Okay.
What I actually wanted to talk about was how I got into this, how I started like looking, how I went into the rabbit hole.
Okay.
So when I was doing all this research on the labiaplasty, and I'm just going to be like totally open and honest here, I was like, none of these vaginas, vulvas look anything like mine. And I was like, interesting, because obviously I'm looking at a lot of photos.
Yeah.
And what I noticed was very, very common was that the labia majora was quite small, and therefore the labia minora stuck out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Versus my labia majora is much larger than what I saw on the internet.
Okay.
And I've always thought in porn, I'm like, wow, these people have the tiniest vaginas. I'm like, mine doesn't look anything like that. But I'm also totally fine with it. Like I've never felt self-conscious about it not wearing yoga pants, you know, like any of those things.
Okay.
I'm like, whatever. I just thought I had a plumper vagina. I thought there was just more fat there.
Had you ever really like considered this before you started? Like, it was before you kind of
Yeah.
were doing this Googling and looking at this stuff, like even just today or the last couple of days, like aside from thinking like, wow, those labias are
Yeah.
really small, had you ever like thought much about your own
hadn't-
labia?
No, not too much. Like I knew that. So when I would see the photos of, so like my labia minora does not stick out at all.
Okay.
You can only see my labia majora.
Got it.
So, and I always just assumed I had a plumper vagina. Like I literally was just like, oh, I just have more fat there. You know, like it just
Sure.
is like a more fatty tissue.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm looking at the photos. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, a lot of these people getting the surgery have a very small labia majora.
Mm,
Therefore, the labia minora sticks out further.
right.
So then I was like, I wonder if people get labia majora surgeries. Because I'm like, mine looks totally different. I wonder if people who have ones that look like mine feel self-conscious because mine doesn't look like the ones in porn
I'm sure
either.
there is.
So I
Is
was
there?
like, I wonder.
Like lipo for your labia?
No. But okay, so then I went into a deep dive of there is, but it's, and I don't want to make it seem like I have a really good vagina, but it was to get your vagina to have a larger labia majora.
Oh.
So it's called I think it was called vagina puffing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I
I
don't
know.
like that at
No,
all.
it sounds so
Oh,
weird.
no.
But
That
what-
just reminds me of those like blow up couches from our youths.
Yes,
Remember those?
yeah,
With the
yeah.
little beads
Beads.
inside.
No, what it is you basically are getting fat injected
What
in your
is
labia
happening?
majora. And so that's when I was like, wait, okay, so labiaplasty is to trim down your labia
Minora.
minora, the inside.
Yeah.
Then it was like labia puffing, or like
Puffing.
it was just puffing, is to puffin up, because apparently also through menopause you lose some elasticity and both your labias can
Mhm.
shrink through menopause.
Right.
Kind of, I mean, it's really like a bad way of describing it, but like imagine they get a little bit less plump,
Yeah.
they get a little thinned out.
Well, it's like aging all of
Yeah,
your skin.
all of
you
your skin.
lose
It's gonna happen.
collagen. It's a thing.
Yeah. So basically, this is like targeted towards those like aging people
Okay.
with vulvas. And it literally said so that your vagina can have a more youthful look, is you can get the labia puffing. And I was just like, it doesn't matter what kind of vulva you have, someone out there is telling you it's not correct.
It's not right.
It's not right.
Yeah.
You gotta, and I always
You
thought,
gotta puff,
I
you
always
gotta
thought-
trim.
Yeah, like I thought I was a little bit weird. That, not weird, I just noticed that I didn't have a minora that stuck out. I thought because I've seen so many
Yeah.
minoras that stick out, it is extremely common. If you go to a pool in Iceland, you'll see it. It's so common. A lot of my friends had it growing up.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's something I've seen so many people have, that I thought I was a little bit weird not
Right.
having it. So I was like, whatever. But I'm like, I couldn't care less. Whatever. So anyways, that then got me down like this rabbit hole of like, what other surgeries can you have on your vulva, vagina area?
Like cosmetic.
Cosmetic.
Okay.
So we've already talked about the labiaplasty. I have now introduced the puffing as well. And the puffing can be like, Botox, or it can be fat injections from like other places from your body. Yeah, like it's like all kinds of stuff.
I mean, I guess if you're doing that to your butt, I guess they would be able to
Yeah.
do that to your butt.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is a
So,
lot.
like,
This is a lot to take in. I'm not
right?
gonna lie.
it's weird. So I'm like, let's all just love your
The point
vulva,
is
people.
also we need to be like. This sounds like super creepy, but we just need to be eyeballing more vulvas.
just eyeball more vulvas with consent. Vaginoplasty. So that is the tightening of the inner wall of your
Yeah.
so your vaginal wall.
Right.
It is designed for people who have given birth vaginally, feel like they have
Right. Sustain some trauma.
sustained some trauma.
Mhm.
But again, every single place that I looked at, every doctor that talked about it in you'll have better pleasure. You'll have, like, even the doctor that was talking about the labiaplasty was saying it. They literally said that the labia minora is there to, what was the word? It was like wrap the penis as it enters. Yeah, like literally it was for
What?
the penis.
Just a gloved hand waiting.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, I know that is not what that is for.
No.
The doctor didn't talk about how that it's for the urethra, how it's for the clitoris.
It's the
Literally,
eyelid of your vagina.
yeah, exactly. The doctor was literally like, it said something about like it basically like holds the penis or wraps the penis as it walks in, as it enters.
Just twirling a cane on his way in.
Okay, so then
That's the funniest thing you've ever said. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my good time gal.
oh my god.
Okay. Whew.
Okay.
All right.
Anyways,
I needed that.
yeah, sorry. As the penis walks in, the labia minora just gently flaps it through. Okay, now I'm sweating.
Oh my god.
Okay,
Oh.
okay. But we got to get into the
Yeah.
more surgeries.
More surgeries.
Okay, so
give
the,
it to me.
the vaginoplasty, which we're talking about, it tightens the vaginal tissue. And the doctors, they're suggesting this for heightened sexual pleasure, all these things. But
Okay.
the medical, the medical society keeps trying to stress, like, these things do not do that. They will, yes, tighten the muscle, but
Well, because the vaginal wall is not a pleasure center,
no,
really.
Exactly. And sexual response is not based off of, first of all, it is not always based off of sensitivity. Sensitivity can actually cause you more pain during sex. If you have
Right.
like extreme heightened sensitivity, it might actually make sex harder. But which like the medical society is trying to like stress is like sexual pleasure comes from so many things. It's not just like, flicking the bean or whatever. It's
Gross.
it is actually
You're fucking full of it today. Oh my god.
It's not just flicking the bean. It is about arousal, desire.
Well, it's like we keep
All
saying,
of
it's
the
like
things.
there is a warm up
Yeah,
involved,
exactly.
and as it should be.
As it should be.
It's not just starting a car.
Precisely.
So many analogies.
So many analogies. Okay, so this is a quote from a clinic where it says the procedures, it is saying all of these procedures. It is saying vaginoplasty, labiaplasty, hymenoplasty, which I will go over in a second,
Oh, good
and
god.
clitoral hood reduction, are all typically performed as outpatient surgery, so there's no hospital stay.
Right.
As well as improved appearance, many patients report a boost in sexual responsiveness and a rise in libido. There are literally no like scientific facts that say that any of those surgeries will do any of those things.
What like is really like getting me on this is that
Mhm.
like, you know, you see websites and everything every day where it's just like people just like spitting bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's a lot of people who believe it.
Yes.
And
you
believe it.
a doctor who this is their practice, this is what they do.
Yeah.
That they would then have the medical knowledge to tell you what
Of course.
this procedure does.
And you've
Then-
never even looked at your own vulva.
Yeah,
Why would
exactly.
you?
Why would you know? Why would you know any better? And then the
Ugh.
next sentence is you may experience return sensation after your procedure. And then it just ends on that. And I was
Mhm.
like, liars. You
Well,
liars.
You may. I mean.
Okay. So then clitoral hood reduction is a similar aesthetic thing
Yeah.
to the labiaplasty. Again, the labiaplasty is done at the bottom. Clitoral hood, I wouldn't even go there because then that's where you're really messing with your very, very sensitive
Yeah.
tissue with lots of nerve endings.
The stakes are very high.
The stakes are very, very high.
Mhm.
But this is the thing that disturbed me the absolute most.
I'm
And
very
so
interested
sorry
to
I've
hear-
been talking for so long.
No,
But
this is fascinating.
Okay. The hymenoplasty.
I'm like nervous.
This one, so the hymen, which
Yep.
is a thin tissue at the entrance of the vagina.
Mhm.
And then this is from a clinic,
Mhm.
says normally breaks the first time a woman has intercourse,
Mhm.
which is actually not
That's a myth.
true. Yeah.
That's been busted.
It's been busted.
Yeah.
You might still have remnants of your hymen,
Mhm.
and it might tear to its complete openness
Sure.
at the first
Mhm.
sign of intercourse.
But it's no
But-
badge of purity.
No, not at all. But this surgery repairs the hymen to mimic its original virginal state before a woman was sexually active. Yes.
I got like T-Rex arms.
I know.
Like, what?
Yes, I am literally not kidding you. This is a surgery for no reason other
It is
than
completely an irrelevant piece of tissue.
completely irrelevant.
It's like getting your appendix put back in.
Yeah, you don't need it. Not after it's gone.
No.
So then it goes on to list some of the reasons why.
Yeah, I'm very interested to hear these.
The first one I really, really thought was really gross, and I'm not going to put it in here because I don't think it warrants repeating.
Okay. You'll tell me later.
Yeah, I'll tell you later. But the ones that I thought were relevant in
Mhm.
in this scenario,
This space.
yeah, in this space. Sorry, I left it in here, so let me skip.
Over it.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna put a trigger warning because
Do you want to say what this clinic is or anything?
I think I will.
Start a petition.
I think we should start a petition.
Yeah.
Um,
for shame. I don't even know what you're going to say yet, but let's just go there.
Because I think this is extremely so the very first one, why they suggest getting this hymen replacement surgery
Oh my God.
is it's called reclaiming control. In the case, I'm like literally getting like goosebumps reading this. In the case of sexual assault, a woman is understandably left with traumatic psychological issues. She may feel that she was robbed of not only her innocence, but the opportunity to present the virginal gift of an intact hymen to the person of her choice.
Okay.
And it makes me want to cry
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, valid, there, whatever. There may be many people that want to have
It's
that.
not like everything in that statement is like
wrong.
untrue or wrong. It's
Yeah.
the context.
It's the context of this surgery.
You're not
is-
actually helping anyone heal from
No,
their trauma.
Exactly. Not at all.
This isn't
And
a service.
This is not a service. This is something that the person who gets it done has to pay for out of pocket. These surgeries are not covered, and it is perpetuating an even further message that they are not valuable because of something that someone else did to them.
Yeah.
And
You're used.
sorry.
You're used.
Yeah, you're used.
And that's just so disgusting.
It's so incredibly disgusting. And I know, I'm sorry, I just took this episode for like a
It's okay.
total.
What's the clinic?
The clinic is called, I'll have to pull it up. It's called Cherokee Women Clinic or something.
Cherokee Women Clinic?
Cherokee Women's Health. It's in the US.
Wait,
It
was this
is.
the photo
This
of the
is
guy that you
this
showed
guy,
me?
Yeah. It was founded in 1933. Okay, so it's in Atlanta. So that's the first one.
This is at the top of the list.
This is the top of the list of why you should get this surgery. So that's incredibly traumatic. Then it goes on. And just the writing of these pisses me off so much.
Yeah.
The next one is burying the past.
What?
Yep. Sexual curiosity and experimentation are a natural part of the growing process. That sentence is perfect.
Okay, when you
Can
said
we just end it right there?
when you said burying the past though, real quick, I had no idea where you were going with that until you read the. I was like, "What does that
What does
mean?"
that mean?
You just throwing dirt on it. Like,
Especially during adolescence when hormonal changes and surges occur. Peer pressure may often compel a young girl to succumb to a sexual activity before she's mentally prepared for the emotional impact associated with such physical intimacy. As she matures, she may feel regretful that she indulged in that curiosity too early or too often, and may seek to bury evidence of what she might, in retrospect, view as promiscuity or bad judgment. Re-virginization may psychologically allow her to turn back the clock and start over.
how is that? How
This
is
is
a hymen going to help you with any
medical
of that?
Thank you. It literally, and the fact that it's like these are the how to fix your messed up psyche because you made these mistakes or these things happened to you. This surgery is going to turn back the clock. I'm not done.
Fucking hell.
I'm just gonna leave it on the last one.
Okay.
A gift.
What?
Many women who have already been sexually active may wish to give their partner a virginal experience, whether it be a surprise, for a special occasion,
What?
or on the wedding night.
Is this like a scenario where you've been with someone for a long time? Maybe things are getting a little stale, and then you go and you get your hymen reattached, and you're
And
like,
then
"Hey,
you're like,
baby,
"Hey, baby,
got a
come
surprise
tear me
for you."
up.
Oh God!
It's literally so fucked up.
What
Right?
the fuck is this?
And
What
this
world
is
is
why all of the surgeries are so fucked up, because we can't have one of these and have the others and be like, oh, they're fine.
Yeah.
When the reason behind these are not for medical purposes. And I get we do breast augmentation, we do lip fillers, we do all these things all the time. The culture is there to do them. But again, it's always looking at why the fuck are we doing these things to our bodies? And I don't want to make people feel bad for doing it, but like and I think that's why I wanted to read this, because it's like a labiaplasty has become very normalized.
Yeah.
But like the root reason of it is because a lot of people think that they look weird.
Yeah.
Or that they are damaged, or that they are not good enough.
Yeah.
And the same goes with this fucking crazy ass hymen surgery. We can't let these things slide. Like, it's just, and that's why, like, yeah,
we're just not
I don't
fucking
even know.
there.
I don't even know.
That's just, I don't
Right?
have no words.
Right?
So we're
Yeah.
definitely going to put
This
a photo.
one might be a good one to watch on YouTube.
Because we'll
for
put a
all you
photo of
people out
this
there.
guy. So Sada showed me a picture of him kind of in the parking lot, it looked like, of his clinic.
Yeah, and it's got some, I don't know, he's standing in front of a parking sign.
Yeah.
And
And
he looks like he needs to get his, everything.
he
taken
looks like a
care of.
turtle without a shell
Yeah.
on. I don't like coming at people for their looks, but if
No,
you're going to
me neither.
you're
But
going to do that.
if you're gonna, and I don't even care if he wrote this, if he's the face of this,
He's fully responsible.
He's fully responsible.
Absolutely.
It's so fucking disgusting. So, I'm sorry. I just took this and I'm I don't even know what to say.
like I said, totally fascinating. Also,
Yeah.
I just realized, like, I thought this was going to be a fun little episode.
I know, and it was kind of the first half. I'm sorry to really tear us down here, but I just felt like I found this and I was like, I can't not go into this.
No, this is really important.
You
And it's
know?
also really important because it's part of the whole
Yeah.
point that we do this shit
Yeah.
is like stigma. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't even say this is, I mean, it's a taboo subject to like bring up,
Yeah,
but like
it's just heavier.
just like fucking like cool it around like the shame and the stigma
Yeah.
around like sexual health, reproductive health, all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's so baked into
Yeah.
us and it's so damaging. And people make fucking money off it. Good
People-
money.
And that's the thing. All of these surgeries are I don't think they're ever covered.
Why
in
would they be?
any
They're
medical-
cosmetic.
Yeah, they're cosmetic. The one thing I will say, like, I want people to understand, if you feel like, because there are some labia minoras that do protrude far enough where they cause chafing, they are really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so therefore, like, if you feel like your reasons for any kind of, I would say, like, the labiaplasties, even the vaginoplasties, are for yourself and your own comfort, I would say don't mess with your clitoris.
No.
It's the one thing that really gives
yeah.
pleasure. Like, it truly, read the science. It is your G spot. That is where the pleasure is coming from.
You will miss it.
And you will miss it. We are humans that like to be pleased. And
Yeah.
if you go and chop it up, I mean, maybe someone will email and they've had the clitoral hood surgery and maybe it doesn't, but
I just feel like it's so risky.
It's so risky.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even go there.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking about the labiaplasty, and I just want to be real with people because it is so popular. So there might be a lot of people listening to this who are looking, I don't know, maybe they do want to go get it. It's just like, look at what your reasons are for getting it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And, go from there.
Totally. And that's very worth exploring.
Yeah.
Whichever way you go.
hmm
So.
But just don't get the hymen thing.
There's
fuck that.
absolutely no
There's
reason
no
for that.
no fucking reason you need to get that.
Holy shit.
That wraps up what I had to say about labiaplasty.
Part 1.
And all the other surgeries.
Which there were more than I needed to know about. But I'm glad I did.
Yes, right? I know. We are here to learn. So tune in next week for Raven's story.
Yeah, we're doing our first ever 2-parter.
Yeah.
So I hope you come back.
Mhm.
I am going to be talking a little bit about Dr. Kellogg and his love of genital mutilation. So
Ooh, it's a horrific story. But,
yeah.
Come, listen, learn.
You'll learn.
I don't, yeah,
You'll learn. And as always, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Why So Mysterious is hosted by Sara Jonsdottir and Raven McLean. Audio is produced and edited by Sonia Inke. Original music is by Malcolm Holt and Alexis Young.
Check out our website, whysomysterious.com, for more information about this episode and other episodes. You can also email us with questions or topics you'd like to hear us cover on the show at whysomysteriousPod@gmail.com.
Follow us on Instagram at whysomysteriousPod for updates, fun facts, and general outrage. If you're an audio listener, but you'd rather be a voyeur, check us out on YouTube.
If you like the show, tell your friends and don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Until next time!